What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be doing my fight preview for Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius, and this fight is going to be Saturday, October 15th from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, and this fight is going to be a 12-rounder in the heavyweight division for the WBC heavyweight world title Eliminator, and it is going to be broadcasted on Fox pay-per-view. But to get into both fighters' resumes, Deontay Wilder, fighting out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, holds a record of 42 wins with 2 defeats and 1 draw, with 41 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently not ranked by BoxRec in the heavyweight division due to inactivity. However, he is a 2008 Olympic bronze medalist, and he's also the former WBC heavyweight champion of the world. So to list all the blemishes on his resume, I mean, they all have came to one man, and that man is Tyson Fury. In their first fight, he got the 1 split decision draw he does have on his resume, and his 2 losses both came by knockout to Tyson Fury in their second fight, where Wilder simply got dominated and lost nearly every single round, if not every single round, and got stopped. But then in their third fight, which was Wilder's last fight, where they literally fought an all-out war, where Fury got dropped twice, Deontay Wilder got dropped multiple times as well. I mean, that was a phenomenal fight, and it was my fight of the year for 2021. But to really get into Deontay Wilder's best wins, I mean, he has a lot of wins over fighters at a very similar sort of capacity in their ranking system and in their fight style. Like, a lot of his best wins have came against guys who are around the top 20 level, but he does have a few wins over some guys who are around the top 10 and definitely clearly inside the top 10. So really, his best wins by far is 2 knockout wins over Luis Ortiz. Ortiz is a top 10 heavyweight now, and he was when Wilder fought him both times. And another one of his very solid wins was his unanimous decision victory over Romain Stavern. And that was when Stavern, in their first fight, when Stavern was a top 10 rated heavyweight and he was the world champion at the time. But then he also was able to knock out Romain Stavern in 2017 in their second fight, but that was obviously a much worse version of Romain Stavern, who came in really on a few weeks' notice, out of shape relatively, and just a bit older, obviously. And, I mean, we saw how that fight went, obviously. It was definitely a different version of Stavern. But some of his other solid wins are a knockout win over Johan Duhaupas, a knockout win over Gerald Washington, a knockout win over Eric Molina, a knockout win over Chris Arreola, a knockout win over Artur Szpilka, and one of his better wins, besides those wins over Stavern and Ortiz, really one of his, I would probably say his third best win, considering obviously counting the opponents, the 2 wins over Ortiz, and the 1 win in the first fight over Stavern. I'd say is another one of his very great wins is that first round knockout victory over Dominic Breazeale. That was a very solid win for Wilder. But to get his opponent's resume, Robert Helenius, fighting out of Mariehamn, Finland, holds a record of 31 wins with 3 defeats and 20 wins coming by way of knockout. He, too, is also currently not ranked by BoxRec in the heavyweight division due to inactivity. Both of them fought over a year ago on the exact same card, October 9th of 2021. But Robert Helenius had a very extensive amateur career in Finland, had over, I believe, what he says, 150 amateur fights, maybe more, I'm pretty sure. But, I mean, yeah, he's been in the business for a long time, and to list his losses, best wins, etc., I mean, all 3 of his losses haven't came to, like, the worst opposition. I mean, his first ever loss was a knockout loss to Johan Duhaupas, and Duhaupas is a guy that Wilder did stop. And another one of his losses was a brutal knockout loss to Gerald Washington in his first ever fight in the United States. And another one of his losses, or the last defeat I'm going to list, which was his second defeat of his career, was a unanimous decision loss against Dillian Whyte. And in that fight, he did, I mean, even though he did lose to Duhaupas and Washington by KO, I mean, I'm surprised that he was able to go the distance with Whyte, and he was able to land some solid shots on Whyte throughout the fight. But to list some of his best victories, I mean, the first few wins I'm going to list here are from when Robert Helenius was noticed as a top-tier European prospect, like, over 10 years ago, when I was, like, 5 or 6 years old. I mean, he was knocking guys out in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. In those years, he was really building himself up in Europe. and he got wins over former world champions Lamont Brewster by knockout, Samuel Peter by knockout, Sergey Liakovic by knockout. He was also able to defeat Derek Chisora by split decision in a very controversial fight. But another one of his solid, more recent wins was a knockout win over Erkan Tepper. And recently, obviously, which is getting him this fight, really, and getting him all this press and ranking spots, is those 2 knockout wins over Adam Kovnatsky. In their first fight, Robert Helenius stopped Adam Kovnatsky in what was my pick for upset of the year in 2020. It was right before the whole COVID shutdown, literally right before it, the weekend before everything was shut down. So it was great for him to get that win in there. If the fight could have been a week later, I mean, we wouldn't even have been talking about Wilder versus Helenius probably. I mean, really, I don't think they would have went out of their way to reschedule a fight between Helenius and Kownacki, because it seemed like a fight that was going to be a mismatch. But then Helenius came out with the win in the first fight. Obviously, he was losing the fight pretty clearly, maybe 2-1, pretty clear. Some had a 3-0 for Kownacki, and then Helenius caught him in that 4th round, dropped him, finished him off. And then they rematched, obviously, on the Fury versus Wilder 3 main card. It was, I believe, the pay-per-view second fight on the card. And Helenius dominated him. He looked very solid and got that 6-round stoppage victory over Kovnatsky. And he didn't show any weakness in that fight. And he looked very strong and looked very solid. So, in my opinion, this is a very, very fun fight on paper for the fans. We got 2 guys who could really bang in the heavyweight division. Deontay Wilder, obviously known as one of the hardest-hitting punchers in boxing today. Definitely the hardest-hitting heavyweight right now. And Robert Helenius is a fighter, like I just mentioned. He's coming off 2 solid wins, and he's very exciting himself. And I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't think this fight, depending on who wins, I don't think it's going to go past 4 rounds. I mean, both Deontay Wilder and Robert Helenius, like I just said, are guys who really have very solid power and can knock their opponents out and are just used to that. I mean, all of the wins besides that Chisora win that I listed as Helenius' best wins were by knockout, and the same with Deontay Wilder. Out of his best wins, only one of them came by decision, and that was against Bermane Stiverne in their first fight. So, I mean, Deontay Wilder, he's used to knocking guys out. Same with Robert Helenius at the top level. He's used to knocking guys out as well. And, I mean, this is a really exciting fight. Like I said earlier, it's for the WBC Heavyweight World Title Eliminator. Deontay Wilder obviously had 10 defenses of that Heavyweight World Title before losing the belt to Fury. But, I mean, the winner of this fight could possibly fight Andy Ruiz Jr. for an interim WBC title, maybe for a final eliminator to determine who gets the next shot at the world title belt. But, I mean, really, the winner of this fight will get a big leeway for a possible world title fight or final eliminator or whatever. But, I mean, if Helenius does win, I could definitely see a rematch happening because of, even though a lot of people are picking Helenius to win from what I've seen, because they think that Deontay Wilder could be shot from those brutal wars with Fury, I would expect a rematch like I just said because, I believe the odds are like a 6-1 for Wilder to win, I'm pretty sure. But for Wilder, if he wins, he'll probably get that Andy Ruiz fight, and that'd be a very fun fight as well. So, to get into some of the reasons why, really people are picking either fighter. First, for Helenius, like I just said, the obvious reasons. Robert Helenius, his confidence is through the roof coming off 2 stoppage wins over a very game opponent in Adam Kovnatsky. He sort of resurrected his career. He really likes to plug forward with his shots. Depending on who he fights, he likes to step back, counter shot, do all that, land his shots, put his shots out there, stick out that jab, land the uppercut. Helenius, like I said, a very solid fighter. And for him to win this fight, I think that he really has to stick to the game plan. He can't get caught early. He can't stray away. He has to just stay calm, stay focused, stay composed. He has to keep his defense up because Deontay Wilder, I believe, has much more power than all the guys that has stopped Helenius. So the thing is, if he's going to win this fight, he has to, like I just said, keep his defense up and not really stray away because, like Deontay Wilder said multiple times, he has to be perfect for 1 second. And if that one shot lands, it could be lights out for Helenius. I mean, Helenius, like I said, he's been stopped twice before, and those are by guys who Wilder's knocked out, and that's what you have to take into consideration in this fight. And that's really the reason why people are picking Wilder to win this fight, because Wilder has that power. He's shown a really good chin because he's able to take some big shots and really go through hard and grueling fights. So I think that Deontay Wilder, if he were to win this fight, he has to really step out on the gas or step off his front foot early and be the aggressor in this fight, because I believe for him to win, he has to pressure Robert Helenius and get him on the ropes, rough him up, throw big left hands, right hands, combinations in the earlier rounds, because I think the earlier rounds is Wilder's best chance to win, and I think it's also Helenius' best chance to win. I mean, really, I don't think this fight's going past 4 rounds. I think both these guys, if they're going to win, they have a great shot of doing it in the first couple rounds. So yeah, like I just said, for Wilder to win, he has to step on that gas early, step on the front foot, throw shots coming forward, and try and catch Helenius with that big right hand of his. Either hand, actually. He's got very, very good power. Inside the first 4, he has to catch Helenius with one of those shots. But even if it goes later on, I think Wilder, being that he's gone through some of these grueling wars, I mean, maybe his endurance is a bit better. He said he sparred a lot of rounds, so who knows how he'll do later on. We'll just have to see if maybe this fight does go later on in the fight. Or if this fight does go later on in terms of rounds, like if it goes to like round 7, round 8, we'll be able to see how Wilder reacts. But I think that if Wilder wins, it's probably going to be inside the first 4. But now more on to talking about how Helenius could win. I was talking about it earlier, but straight off on Wilder. But yeah, for Robert Helenius, I think it's really the same thing. He has to. I think if he's going to win, it's going to happen inside the first 4 rounds, because I think it's going to be, for him to win, it's going to be sort of like how he beat Adam Kovnatski, like staying composed with his defense, being the one that's fighting smart, keeping his hands up, trying to counter Wilder with that big right hand of his. And I really think that he has to do that. I think he has to fight very smart because, like I said, he just can't make any mistakes in this one, because if he gets caught, who knows what could happen. I mean, Helenius, he has to fight very smart. I mean, if he's going to trade with Wilder, I don't think that's a great idea for him. He shouldn't trade with Wilder. He should just try and stick to his game plan, whatever that game plan is, but he just has to fight smart, try and throw his shots coming forward, if he's able to, stick that jab out to keep Wilder off him, and Wilder himself does have a very solid jab, but I think in this case, Wilder's going to try and go for that knockout, but for, like I said, for Helenius, he really has to just fight smart, and I think if he's going to beat Deontay Wilder, he has to catch him coming in, he has to catch him with some big shots, and if he's able to get Wilder on the ropes and put that 250-pound frame, 240-pound frame of his, on Wilder like Fury did. I know that Helenius isn't a 276'9" man like Fury, but I mean, anything that he could do to just rough up Wilder a bit and get him uneasy is something that he has to do. And the thing is, another reason why a lot of people are picking Robert Helenius to win is because Deontay Wilder is coming off those 2 grueling fights with Tyson Fury, where he took a brutal beating later in the half of the second fight, even though the first half was very competitive because of the knockdowns. The second half, Wilder really did get beat up. And in that second fight, Wilder got beat up as well. I mean, his eardrum was busted, he was making all these excuses and whatnot, but here is his comeback fight, so we'll see how he does, but that's really something to think of when you're predicting this fight. And another thing to talk about is how Deontay Wilder was like pondering retirement. He wasn't really, he talked about it in his press conferences. He said he was almost 1 foot out the door, or he said something along these lines. Like, I'm not saying a direct quote or anything, but he really talked about something about how he was almost about to retire, like he doesn't really want to do it, but then he was just motivated by, like, a statue that was made for him, for example, and he was motivated by so much other things that made him want to step back, made him want to do it for his fans, and made him want to come back in there. So, I mean, that's something to think of, Wilder's mentality going into this fight and how he's going to be. So, yeah, I mean, either way, I think this fight's going to not go past 4 rounds. I think either man has a great shot of beating each other by knockout, and, yeah, I really think this is going to be a very fun slugfest that will 100% end in a KO win. And if you're predicting this fight, comment down below who you think is going to win, as I think this fight will not go past 4 rounds either way. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.